Welcome back, Star Wars fans, to Corsight Radio Underground here on the Science Fictionary. I am Andrew, and who are you? This is Marisha, my wife.
He's been married to for 15, almost 16 years.
Yep, that's true.
Very true. How did that happen? It's amazing that we've been married for 16 years and we're both still so young.
If we didn't have a 15-year-old child, I wouldn't necessarily believe it. But the 15-year-old child kind of grounds it in reality.
It's true. She's like substantial. She's like adult sized. She has like adult conversations. Kind of crazy.
Yeah. So we'll give it a second. Let's, before we get going, and see if anybody pops in the chat.
You're going to have to be the conversation person today because I didn't bring my phone. So I can't like I usually do and chat while I'm talking.
Move the keyboard over here so I can chat.
Sounds like fun.
Although I generally just like answer them out loud.
That's true.
So let's see, what do we got coming up? So we're going to talk about Skeleton Crew tonight. This is going to be our spoiler review for the first 2 episodes of Skeleton Crew. We're going to give it we're at 2 minutes, really only 1 because one of that's a countdown. We'll give it 2 more minutes before we jump into the review.
So you did your non-spoiler review the other day. I was like, I'm exhausted, I'm going to bed.
And then you watched it on YouTube.
But your studio was literally, I wasn't even listening to it on YouTube. I was listening to it through the wall.
Yeah, the bedroom's right there on the other side of that wall.
And so I was like, I can't sleep there. It was, it was fine. It wasn't. But
that's what I told you when we moved in here. You were like, oh, you can do episodes when and I can go to bed. And I was like, I don't know.
I'm gonna just have to get earbuds. But anyway, yeah. So I got on and talked in the chat. You did not acknowledge any of my comments.
I didn't acknowledge a lot of anything because I was trying to keep it under 5 minutes.
None of my comments, love. 0 of my comments got a shout out.
Most of your comments came as I was signing off. There was a barrage of them.
Irrelevant.
So things that are coming up. Obviously, I think this is our big one. I mean, This is going to carry us to the middle of January. Really excited about this. I will be back next week. This week caught me off guard. I did not know they were dropping the first 2 episodes a day early. I missed that memo. Everything the rest of the way through, I think, drops on Tuesdays, and I got to figure out the time. But the plan is to go back to doing a pre-show. That'll be quick, and we usually bring some guests in for that, just to kind of talk about our expectations for the episode and where we think it's headed. Got some plans for that. They may not happen with this show. Working on some things, but got a lot of things that got to fall in place before I can really get the pre-show stuff underway. But
and then of course I'm going to be gone the last 2 weeks of December.
No, not the last 2 weeks.
The middle 2 weeks.
The middle 2 weeks. So I will be here to do the full episode. You'll be here next week to do the episodes with me. And then we will we're going to go see War of the Rohirrim on the 13th. If you're interested in our review of that, you're going to be leaving town for work the next day, I believe.
Yeah.
So we might even just have to do a car episode.
Yeah.
On the way home. We have an hour and a half drive. As long as we got an internet, we can do it.
It's true.
As long as you handle the camera and not me, and maybe while I'm in Baton Rouge traffic.
And there's not too much to be seen on 61.
Right. So I won't be looking at the camera much, but we could probably swing a car review or something. We're going to do a review, and I want to do that before you leave town for work. But that one I'm really excited. Are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. It's, like I've said before, I really started that one out with very little enthusiasm for that movie. But the longer it's gone on, everything I've seen looks really good.
Yeah. And I'm going to we're going to have another talk about that one either later this week or maybe early part of next week before we go see it.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people, the concerns people have had about the lead character choice and some other things seem unfounded right now. A lot of talk. I keep seeing a lot of talk about, oh, this isn't even the story. They've totally changed it. But I'll be honest, the trailer is like everything we've seen of Helm is directly from the source material.
Yeah. Very limited source material.
That's the thing. There's very limited source material, and I'm not going to get into that
It's kind of
tonight.
like Rings of Power. You know, it's like there's only so
right,
much.
but even less. it's literally like there's literally like a paragraph's worth of information about this whole event.
Right. It was just really this, an explanation for why Helm's Deep was important and why the Horn was scary.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It wasn't a fleshed out story. It's literally just
a backstory.
What is the backstory for Helm's Deep and the Horn of Helm Hammerhand and these things that are mentioned? Why is it important? This and all it was. So it was. It's in the. It's not even Silmarillion. It's in the appendices. It's literally a footnote.
Yeah, is it in the appendices? I thought it was actually described in.
Oh, is it in the Silmarillion? Because I really
no. In the
no, there is a little description in the book, and then I think there's some additional information about the war in the appendices.
Yeah. Hey, Isaac.
Hey, Isaac. Welcome to the chat. So we're 7 minutes in. That's a safe spot to start. So, but yeah. So coming up, we'll be doing War of the Rohirrim. If you haven't watched, if you're not excited about it, please go watch the last couple of trailers that released. They're really solid. And if you're familiar with the source material, I think they're going to give you a little hope. And honestly, this going with the daughter, I think there's reasons that I'll go into in the episode we're going to do on this, but I think there's really strong reasons. The closer we get, I'm understanding the reasons they chose this character. And I don't think it was simply to have a female lead.
Right.
I think obviously, Lord of the Rings were, 6.
Eowyn kills
this. So let's draw a distinction and say this is unrelated to Rings of Power. This is related to the Peter Jackson movies.
Right.
This is in that line. This is in that interpretation of the story, not the Rings of Power interpretation of the story. So let's not talk about Galadriel being the lead of Rings of Power because it's unrelated. This will be movie number 7 in Peter Jackson's Middle Earth movie series, and it's the first female lead.
Yeah.
Really, and will be our most prominent female. We've had great female characters, and Eowyn and Arwen, but they're small. They're still small roles.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially
Arwen, and which they really beefed up from the book.
Well, yeah, they beefed both of those up from the book. So anyway, let's that's kind of the big thing we got coming next week. But the big thing right now is Star Wars Skeleton Crew. I've been kind of felt a little alone on this one for a while, and in our online circle of feeling like I was one of the few people going, I'm really excited for this.
Right.
And then you start hearing things out of Lucasfilm. Oh, Lucasfilm's really not happy with it. Lucasfilm really doesn't know what to do with this series. We're still hearing that. We're still hearing that they don't really love this series. That falls under rumor, but it's coming from places that have tended to get things right. And up until the Acolyte, I was like, man, if even the studio's unhappy with it, like how bad is it? But I was still excited about the premise, and I was excited about the people that were making it. And then we got a little closer and we got the Acolyte, and the studio is absolutely madly in love with everything the Acolyte, right? And then they're still saying, and then it was basically during the Acolyte that we start hearing the studio's unhappy with Skeleton Crew, and I was like, well, maybe, and I think this is a huge indictment if those rumors are true, I'm going to keep them firmly. We're not going to pretend like they're 100% factual.
Mhm.
If those rumors are true, that's a huge indictment of the leadership at Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
At least 2 episodes into the show, they've still got plenty of time to ruin it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's what, 8 episodes? I'd say it was 8 episodes the other night when I looked it up.
I don't remember. I didn't retain it.
I think it's 8.
But yeah, it's I'm really loving it. I don't see what there's not to love at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole bunch of, somewhere on the spectrum between cynical and starry-eyed kids who accidentally, launch a starship into hyperspace.
Right.
Like what? I mean, what's not to love about that?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I don't even know that I can sit here and like I said, if you want a breakdown of all the Easter eggs in this, I'm not your guy. Like I caught a lot of them. I'm sure I missed others, but and I don't even pretend to try to compete in that game. There's people that do too good a job with those videos.
For sure.
But there is a lot of stuff, and I'm not going to talk about every Easter egg, but I am going to talk about the very specific vibes. I mean, it's obviously leaning hard into Goonies.
Oh yeah.
Which we knew that was literally something the director said early on, that he wanted to create a throwback to that 80s, the Amblin Entertainment stuff, like E.T.
It's Goonies in space.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, but there's also
oh my god, that soundtrack.
Yeah, I'm loving the soundtrack. Mick Giacchino, the son of Michael Giacchino, who has at this point, quietly put together a pretty impressive list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did Michael Giacchino, who did the score for Rogue One? Is Michael Giacchino? Okay, so they've both worked in Star Wars now. But clearly very, very talented. Several people that I've watched react to it thought it was Kevin Kiner, because it's really well done, and it flows. It feels Star Wars,
and
it feels Star Wars, but there are notes. I mean, there are a couple of moments where it's literally like notes, the kind of the mystery and the intrigue notes from Goonies.
Yes, and then seamlessly into the
Pirates of the Caribbean,
the Pirates, vibe, and that's another one they really definitely leaned into, was the Pirates of the Caribbean,
and it
ride.
It's like, did they lean? They definitely leaned in, and there's a couple of pretty direct references to Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, the key
in particular, right? But that is harkens back to serialized pirate adventures and things like Errol Flynn and the swashbuckling adventure movie. In fact, we open up on a pirate ship capturing a freighter,
right? Which was so lovely, and it's like throwback to like Star Wars opening with a ship is so iconic. And then for it to kind of like roll straight into the whole pirate vibe, I thought that was, I loved it. It sort of, it felt very Star Wars, and that it sort of evoked all of the things. It felt like something, something you familiar, something you've seen.
Yes. And honestly, like, if that's not the George Lucas Star Wars formula, then what is?
Exactly.
This just brought it forward a decade. George Lucas's Star Wars is very entrenched in the 70s. Now it harkens back to things a fair amount older.
Right.
But it, at the same time, and then this does too, with some of the like the pirate serials and stuff. But this carries it forward and does and creates the same type of entrenched in the 70s feel that Lucas created with Star Wars and moves it forward a decade and says maybe this is what it would have looked like if George Lucas had made Star Wars in the 80s. It's also if George Lucas and Steven Spielberg had ever gotten together to make that Star Wars,
Yeah.
that we all thought would happen for a couple of decades.
And it's such a and I kind of expected it to have a lot of the same vibes as Stranger Things, which it definitely does. And it evokes, I think, a lot of the same nostalgia that Stranger Things did.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely went about kind of delving into a lot of the same inspirations as Stranger Things.
And I feel like the best world builders are the ones who have a wide litany of things to choose from, right? I feel like the best world builders are the ones who have a big catalog of iconic things that they're familiar with, that they can draw from.
Yeah.
And, I really feel like the writers have that in the same way that I really was reassured whenever I found out that Charlie Vickers audition, one of his audition speeches was the better to rule in hell than to serve in heaven speech from Paradise Lost. I was like, okay, they understand it.
Yeah.
Whenever you kind of look at the sort of things that this is drawing from, I feel like, okay, it's the same sort of like, okay, I think they understand Star Wars feeling.
Yeah. Now they're obviously introducing some new things into Star Wars. For better or worse, some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. I don't see a lot to really nitpick. There was a lot of fit throwing about the tassels on the handlebars of the bike, which seems like an awfully nitpicky thing to get hung up on. And there's some people that are really hung up on the whole suburbs thing. And I said this when we talked about the trailers. Star Wars has taken us to a lot of crazy places, and if suburbs are where you draw the line, then this idea that we have all these planets with big cities and there's no suburbs,
right?
Like,
seems unlikely.
It seems very unlikely.
It seems like the sort of thing that only a person who's ever lived in a big city would think.
Right.
It's a really, so honestly though, it reminds me of nothing so much as that like creative world from Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where it was like,
yeah, a little more modern suburb.
It was kind of like, Earth in the 80s, but a little off. And that's kind of what it felt like. But honestly, I think that there's something a little off about this planet.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about that.
That's kind of what I think that's what it's going for, is I think it's supposed to feel kind of familiar, but also kind of wrong. And I think maybe that's one of the things that people are reacting to, is the kind of the little bit of a false ring. And I think that false ring is intentional.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And I don't know what the point is going to be, but let's talk about that. So the planet AT-ATN, this is a new planet. We know nothing about it. Apparently most of the galaxy knows nothing about it either, except what's known through myth and legend.
It sounds like it's basically like El Dorado.
Yeah. Now, I'm assuming that at one point, we were told at some point that this was one of the crown jewels of the Old Republic and some of the promotional stuff.
Okay.
I don't know exactly where that quote came from, but I know I remember running across that. So they're still using Old Republic credits for just ordinary things. And when we're talking Old Republic, we're talking about this planet's been off the radar for a long, long time. We don't have in our current Star Wars canon exactly where the line for the Old Republic is drawn.
Yeah.
But it's way back.
It's
1,000
like,
years.
It's like somebody
possibly
shows up with
much longer.
With Greek denarii. They're like, oh, hey, we'd like to buy your, with this gold.
Right.
But they're new, which means they're still manufacturing.
Well, they're either still manufacturing or they're just not circulating that much.
I mean, they had, but
But
that's what
yeah,
they're
no, I
using.
mean,
That's what they're using for lunch money. They've got to be going through circulation. They've got, I
true.
mean, currency doesn't hold up that well.
True. So, so let's run through what we know about AT-AT.
Okay.
We know that there's some sort of barrier that shields it from the outside world.
Yes.
People can't find it. They can't see out. These kids have never really seen stars.
Which is, yeah.
There's one scene where we can kind of see some artificial lights in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what they are. We couldn't see them well enough.
Right.
We do have the green swirls, whatever the barrier is. So we've seen planets in Star Wars totally hidden by natural phenomenon. Whatever the planet that we go to or we meet the Force gods, whatever planet, I can't remember the name of Zeb's planet, the planet where his people have gone to, that you have to have very, very specific instructions to get to.
That's going to annoy me. What is the name of that place?
I don't know, but
that place.
But
we
those
should call it
that place.
This land.
But those are shielded by natural phenomenon.
Okay.
So we need to know if this one is shielded naturally or if they created something that's hiding the planet. We need to know. I'm seeing a lot of people that seem to be getting this wrong and thinks this because they mentioned the great work, which apparently I quit reading the some of the books. Apparently there's some things in the High Republic book where we talk about this, where we use the same phraseology.
That could be a coincidence.
Could be a coincidence, could be related. Regardless of what it is, the planet has this thing that they're working towards. We don't know what that is. There's something off. The suburbs are too perfect, right? The robots are very overbearing. So the droids are very, very overbearing. I mean, the kids out in the woods in this thing shows up. Like, and then like when they're walking into school, like every 10 steps, there's a droid saying school is starting, proceed inside. I think that there's something a lot less than, this is one of those places, it appears nice. All the kids, I mean, these kids are 10 years old. You heard the lesson they were getting. I mean, they're clearly educated very well by 10 years old, but at 10 years old, they're getting ready to take a vocational test to decide their future. And there is no, like that's what your future is. And of course, you know, there are places on there's places on Earth that are kind of like that.
Yeah,
Japan. Yeah. Japan's not that unlike that.
Yeah.
Ubaldo, how are you? Thanks for jumping in. So yeah, I mean, places like Japan are kind of like that. But they've not just cut themselves off where people can't find their planet. They don't appear to be going out into the galaxy anymore.
Right.
In fact, it's forbidden. So one, it's going to be interesting to find out how long it's been since people went out. And two, have they really, or is there a select group of people that are still communicating with the outside?
It's like the Village.
See, that's a really good comparison. Is the Village. Maybe it's this place that tried to cut itself off and be this perfect world and keep the sin of the outside from coming in.
And which does beg the question, have they actually been separated since the Old Republic, or are they trying to revive the glory days?
So yeah. And they may not have been missing the whole time, but they've clearly been missing long enough they're on no modern star charts.
Right.
So it's been a while. I'm going to say pre-High Republic era anyway.
Yeah. And so it also begs the question, where do these stories come from? Like, why is it some sort of fabled mystical world? You know, what is it? Yes, it was going to be a Treasure Planet. I do remember you bringing up Treasure Planet in conversations about this show. I think that
how I just realized there's an X-wing hanging in front of my face.
there is.
Children.
I thought it was you.
It was not.
Yeah, but I think that, I mean, and what's better than Treasure Island? If you're going pirates, you know?
Yeah. So have you seen the movie Treasure Planet?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'm familiar with it. I've seen like promotional materials from you know, from back in the day. But
yeah, so Thousandth Ghost Toy says, I still haven't seen episode 2, but I really did enjoy episode 1, except for his father, who I don't think we're supposed to like. Yeah, I think 100% his father, and it's not that maybe we can't come to like the father, but the father is, whatever he's so busy with, he's neglecting his child.
Yeah.
That's pretty easy to dislike.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in a world where parental involvement, there's an increasing premium on parental involvement in their children's lives, and specifically fathers.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in the 50s, nobody would have batted an eye at that.
Right.
But you know, we've moved past
our
that as a
sensibilities
culture.
have changed on that.
Yeah. That's you know,
well, I mean,
maybe there are good things and bad things that have, you know, come as far as sensibilities changing in the past 50 years, but that one is unequivocally a win, I think, for the world at large. Yes.
Yeah, the father is a typical, the Ghost Toy says the father is a typical Steven Spielberg Emblem Entertainment dad who is concentrating too much on work and has to learn that he's spending too much time at work. Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
He's Peter and Hook.
Yeah.
Man, that's a good movie.
It is. And I says, well, let's talk. I mean, although this is not specifically from that, but just our mention our droid SM-33 real quick.
Oh my God.
So Nick Frost, brilliant casting. Mm-hmm. I'm loving the character. Yes. I still want to see Nick Frost with a like face roll in Star Wars at some point, because I've been clamoring for Nick Frost in Star Wars for a while, but they literally named the droid Smee. And I am all kinds of here for that.
Yeah, that's great. Somebody was really pleased with themselves whenever they came up with that.
So let's see. Do we know anything else about the planet other than that there's something hidden?
Do they actually have some kind of valuable resource? I mean, the ship that's crashed there is a pirate ship, so it does stand to reason that maybe they were there to pilfer something.
Possibly.
Or is it just a story that's kind of just been thrown around because, you know, it's inaccessible, and so people have started telling stories about it.
Right. Well, like Atlantis.
Yes.
This place had disappeared.
Yes. Captain Hook, right hand, SM-33. Yeah. It's just, it's so perfect.
So do you have any speculation on what's going on with the planet? Because at this point, I feel like there's some really good mystery and intrigue there, but I don't really know if I've got a feel for what's going on. Now, we get some comments from Fern's mother.
Yes, yes.
So we're definitely not dealing New Republic. I've got the impression they're unaware
that there have been an Empire or a New Republic period.
Yes.
Yes, Old Republic currency. I think that they're definitely.
Yeah, they've been cut off for at least a few hundred years, if not thousands of years.
Yeah, which is definitely an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. So there's something going on though. I mean, so one, and I can't remember the dad's name, who is, I mean, he's working serious hours.
Yeah, he's an analyst.
Yeah, and we hear multiple mentions of analysts. So there's something going on there.
Yeah.
That they need analysts.
Right.
And the whole thing with Fern is clearly not much of a student. She doesn't want to be.
Right. She's clearly smart though. She's got
She's
this.
smart, but she's a rebel, and she just wants
Mm-hmm.
to go do wild things, and
Yeah.
she just wants to go have fun.
Yeah.
And but her mother brings her back, brings her a patch or something, and says, "You're top of the class again," leading me to believe that she went and bought her place back at the top of the class,
Yeah.
and says there's not a lot of room for people at the top.
Yeah.
And so, what is the privilege of, are we dealing with an oligarchy of, we have a select few who basically
Yeah.
have all the privilege?
It's either an oligarchy or there's some sort of AI at the top.
Let's see. Do you remember an old movie called Brigadoon? It was about two Americans who stumble upon an Irish village that only reappears every 100 years. I remember it very vaguely. I don't know if I've ever seen the whole movie.
I have seen the Star Trek episode though.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we're definitely doing Ubaldo. We're definitely dealing with some American Graffiti vibes. But I tell you, when the other vibe I got, when the bullies pull up, and
Hey McFly.
yes,
Yeah.
it's neat. It's not
Needles.
it's Needles.
Yeah.
Is Needles the one that always wants to race him?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I definitely got some Back to the Future vibes. And she even kind of deals with her way of dealing with the bully is sort of Marty's way of dealing with the bully.
Don't call me chicken.
Yeah.
No
You
one
got to
calls
act
me
tough with
chicken.
them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm always going to be here for Back to the Future vibes. Like,
Right.
that's some of my very favorite vibes ever.
So yeah, so I think let's move on from the planet. But we know there's some mystery here, other than the fact that they've been cut off for so long. Something is not as it's not a utopia. Even though the first shots of it try to give it kind of, when we see the suburbs, we kind of get this idea. It looks, it's that everything's very, very nice there.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's that the people, they're not suffering per se, but they're being lied to. There are clearly people that know what's beyond.
Mm-hmm. And they clearly have no real self-efficacy.
Well, and we even have stories. I mean, we see what's the kid's name? The one we pick up on first.
Dadgummit.
I'm gonna remember everybody's name because it's Neil, Fern, KB.
Mm-hmm. And Kit. No, what is it? We have to Google it.
Yeah. But that character, it's not Webb, but it's close. I think it starts with a W.
I don't know. Anyway, what about it?
Well, I kind of lost my place when we couldn't remember his name.
Utopia. It's not really a utopia.
But he's reading stories about the Jedi.
Yeah.
So we either believe that these are so we have to assume that he either believes that Jedi once existed just within his world,
Mm-hmm.
or that maybe Jedi visited the planet at some point from another world.
Well, I mean, clearly they know other worlds exist. They know what hyperspace is.
They don't think they're just stories because he thinks he's found a Jedi temple, or maybe they're meant to be stories and his imagination has, run wild. I don't know, but I mean, there's not this complete denial of the outside world. It doesn't appear.
Yeah.
Whim.
Yeah,
there we go. Thank you, Ubaldo. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where we go with that. So they get on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And
you just gotta push the button.
This is one of the things that I love about this show is the kids, that they act like kids.
Yes. In fact, they act enough like kids that my 10-year-old is going, Like he's like he knows it's cringe, but it's also so
Right.
relatable. Like he wants to be out there playing Jedi, and like
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
yeah, we kind of touched on that briefly.
Yeah.
It's hitting the notes so
it's
far.
definitely following a similar formula. In fact, I will be curious to see if they did what they did with the Stranger Things actors, which before they started filming, they had a list of homework to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll kind of be curious if these kids had a similar experience where they sent them home to watch E.T. or Hook or
Yeah.
anything like that. I doubt they sent the 10-year-olds home to watch Back to the Future, but maybe.
My 10-year-old seen Back to the Future.
It's true. But there's also some vibes. I mean, the taken away on a ship, and when we get some real
kidnapped.
Well, we get some Flight of the Navigator vibes.
Uh-huh.
So Flight of the Navigator, our kid ends up on this ship, flies away for years. But it's through time I mean, they bring him back to the moment he left at the end of the day. But
yes. Don't push the button.
Yeah. So I mean, as soon as you saw the button flashing green, like you were like, he's going to push it. Like he has to push it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Complete compulsion. And Travis Mitchell, thank you for joining us in the chat. Let us know what you thought about the show. But yeah, the ship is very interesting. It's not a totally unfamiliar design.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to find out what we know about the ship. Has the ship been there? Did the ship come at some point after did they find the planet sometime after it was cut off? Because I saw people questioning, well, this ship that could have been there for 1,000 years knows the way to a pirate port. That's now, to be fair, we have a lot of things in Star Wars that have been around for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But did the pirate ship arrive at some point later?
Right.
Or did the pirate ship arrive before the planet was cut off? And I don't know if that's even a question they'll answer. I'll tell you what it reminded me of several times. Billy Madison.
That's great.
Let's see.
There's another.
Yeah, well, that one's not on camera. Apparently, my children have been hanging Star Wars Christmas ornaments on my microphone over here. And
I just looked over there and I was like, there's a Darth Vader right there.
Right.
Sorry, that completely derailed me. Sorry about that.
So let's like, we're not gonna do a scene by scene breakdown here. In fact, we watched it yesterday. I would have to have watched it again tonight to do a scene by scene. But just they find the scene where they find the ship, fly off. What are things that jump out to you? What did you like about that scene? I love the design of the ship. I'm seeing a lot of, this isn't really Star Wars, but I mean, obviously there's some things we've geared a little younger than George Lucas aimed for, but it's the same motif, but it's it's very grounded in the galaxy we know.
Yes, for sure. And even though we're exploring parts of the galaxy we've never seen before, it definitely feels like it fits in that galaxy. It's just somewhere else, which I think is exactly what you want, right? In a new Star Wars world, you want it to be something different. You want it to be something new, but yet have enough of a sense of familiarity that it fits in the world.
Yeah.
And I think they really accomplished that. That's a real accomplishment.
Yeah.
Because like balancing that whole novel and nostalgia thing is something that a lot of franchises have really struggled with.
So the kids have done a really good job, especially once they find the ship. and then moving beyond that, when we, the taking off, seeing space for the first time, seeing stars for the first time,
Right.
and their sense of wonder. They're doing a really good job with that. It's going to be interesting to see. They've got to do a little more with. So far, KB hasn't really gotten a moment. Of the three kids, has probably had the least moment. She's done some cool things because she's clearly the tech of the group, but she's hasn't really had a good moment to really shine. We know she's Fern's best friend, and she's got a little softer heart than Fern, or at least the facade that Fern puts up.
Right.
Let's see. Travis Mitchell says, one moment I loved is when the dad uses William's rolling chair to dump him into his bed. Yeah, genius parenting hack.
And it was so believable. It was just like such a authentic interaction.
I would try that this evening, except I don't know if I could dump the ones into the upper bunk.
That would be difficult.
But maybe we get a special chair for Christmas. Thousandth Ghost Toys says, I think it's great that it's new characters, new ship, new planets, but just enough member berries to draw you in. Yeah. And it's not even all Star Wars nostalgia. They've built in nostalgia. This is what has been said forever about the brilliance of George Lucas's creation, is that Star Wars had a sense of nostalgia from day one.
Right.
Not as much for us, the second generation watchers.
Right.
Like if you're a first generation watcher though, like my dad, you grew up on the stuff that Star Wars. I mean, my dad would have been 17 when the first movie came out.
Okay.
So he grew up on the things that George Lucas drew inspiration from.
Right.
So for people that age and older, it came with a sense of nostalgia.
Yep.
And this does that too. And the thing I love about this is going to be a lot of kids' introduction to Star Wars. And I think
it's a good one.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Pirate ship crashed and they built around it, like collapsed sections of San Francisco. I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You build on, just like, I mean, geez, like cities like Paris and, they just like, they just, there's layers and layers and layers of city, going back because they just build on the old stuff. I mean, not anymore.
All right. So a couple things I want to talk about before we move on to episode 2. One, we got a really good look. Ships look great. I love their interpretation of gangplanks and pirates swinging onto other ship to blow up gun turrets and things. So that they leaned heavily into that theme, and I like it. The aliens.
So many aliens.
I've been complaining for years at this point that we don't get enough good aliens, and sometimes that's fair, sometimes it's not. Some things have given us good aliens, but this is giving us a lot more.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's giving us really great. I'm gonna blank on the name of the species, the wolf that we see, that the one that looks like Blackbeard marching onto the deck of the ship that they're capturing. He's going to show up in the second episode at the pirate port.
Right.
But he's walking in, he's got multiple pistols in his bandolier. And that is a character that was in the cantina.
Okay, I didn't realize in the
original Star Wars. At that point in time, it's literally it was a Halloween mask. I mean, they were just repurposing stuff. It was an off-the-shelf Halloween mask. And at some point they removed that.
Yeah. Right. Replaced it with something else.
Hey, thanks for dropping in. Come back anytime. And yeah, definitely go check out episode 2. Let us know what you think in the chat when you get done. Oh, Travis Mitchell dropping. There we go. That's it. It is the Shistavinin. I can't remember how to say it, but yes, that is correct. Thank you for that information there. But so cool. I think that at some point the Wolfman might have gotten replaced in one of the special editions for a digital creation.
Yeah.
but to get that character back's really cool. Gosh, the one thing that it was a fun nod, but it's almost like, man, I don't know if we needed that to come back or not. Is the hologram entertainment from the Christmas special,
It's so
from the
cringe though,
holiday
but oh my
special.
gosh, Andrew, do you remember Teletubbies?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch Teletubbies. I was a little old for that, but
I
I'm
didn't. I was
aware.
too old for it too, but it was just the weird, creepiest thing you've seen in a minute. It was every bit as cringy as that little hologram weirdness.
Yeah. Travis Mitchell says the lead pirate looked like Cobra Commander. Yes, and thank you for saying that because I didn't pick up on that, but as soon as I read that right there when you posted it, I was like, yes, that's what that helmet. I've been going, what does that helmet look like? So it looks like a Cobra Commander mask, but the top is a tricorn hat. I don't know if you caught that. It's subtle, but it's definitely a pirate tricorn hat.
That's funny. Yeah, that's great.
So the aliens look absolutely fantastic.
Oh, no. The perfect age for Teletubbies. So weird.
Yeah. Fortunately, we had like this great gap where like I was too old for Teletubbies and my kids were too young for Teletubbies. Like it was kind of not the thing anymore.
Yeah, and there was some really weird, there was just some weird stuff on TV there for that, 2000 through 2005 or so. Yeah, it like just a lot of just weird stuff. You remember the Wiggles?
Oh, they're
The
still
Wiggles were
around.
kind of weird. They're still around?
Oh yeah. They're real big on they're real big on the like YouTube shorts and stuff right now. I don't know why, but the tree of knowledge keeps popping up on my
Oh my god.
on my YouTube stuff.
Oh my god, that's just
I missed
crazy.
this comment. Travis Mitchell says Disney Star Wars is much more earthy, down to having a hoodies cover a real 80s song. OG Star Wars didn't have glasses, buttons on clothing were rare, but that's just common now. Yeah. No, that is a very, very fair.
No wonder this is great. No wonder Max Rebo wears a burlap diaper and plays a giant game of Simon and Jabba's Palace. He was raised on that crap.
That's excellent.
Yeah, that's perfect.
What else? What else jumped out to you about this first episode before we move on?
This first, I think that the Tom Sawyer, like the Tom Sawyering, was like top notch. It's like,
well, it's not only did she kind of pull a Tom Sawyer, but it informed us a little more about the kind of character she is.
Because she's Tom Sawyer. She's kind of cynical and wants to have an adventure. She is. I think that's probably the closest one-for-one equivalent.
And so, I mean, so we'll see. And so Wim may be he could be our Huck Finn, although we still don't know just a whole lot about where, we've gotten a brief glimpse in. We're going to learn a lot more about their lives.
Yeah.
From their parents. I think we're going to see more of their parents in this next episode.
Yeah, because now they're, now that the kids are gone, I think that we're going to see also some different kind of parental reactions. I think we're going to see some very just, authentic, like just parents. And I think we're also going to see some people who are a little more powerful, who are at least as concerned about the implications of their children disappearing as their children actually disappearing. That's the vibe I'm getting off of the mom for sure.
Yeah. So we'll see where that goes. And also I would assume that there's going to be an authority that's just going to be very unhappy about the whole thing.
Yeah. Right.
So, because we still don't really know that much about who's in charge here.
It's what is the like the great brain on the Guardians of the Galaxy world?
Nowhere. Wait, what?
No. It's Captain was on Captain Marvel. It was the
I have no
whatever.
idea.
Like I started with that reference and then realized, nope, I don't remember enough about this reference to really.
Yeah. Travis says so far the adults weren't overly oblivious or mean like you'd expect. You'd relate to both age groups like ET. Yeah, 100%. The dad, I mean, he's a little. It's easy to be annoyed with the fact that he's kind of not giving his son enough attention, but we also don't know what he's dealing with yet.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely not Matilda.
Right.
Like the parents,
Yeah. I mean, the kid is well taken care of.
Right.
He's just not getting the attention he wants or probably should have, but we don't know where the dad's coming from yet.
Yeah.
Or what happened to the mother.
Yeah.
So let's jump forward to episode 2 before we get real long here. So episode 2 opens up right where the first one leaves off. We're in hyperspace. We're going to drop out of hyperspace somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Not elegantly. No.
Have we ever seen a ship just
yes get knocked out of hyperspace? Yeah, we've seen that. I think we've seen that a couple of places.
Okay, I don't remember that. Oh my god,
it's true. He's not wrong. There were a lot of exposed brains.
Oh my goodness. Look at any 90s kid show. They all had exposed brains. Lord Zed, Powerpuff Girls,
Billy. It's interesting. We should do a whole episode on villains with exposed brains.
Yeah. Maybe get some shrink on here to tell us the implications of that and what it means for the generation that grew up on them.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm loving the droid. The droid is interesting. It moves the way I want a droid to move.
Accent.
We've had the accents.
It's funny. Just like straight up. He just was like straight up parley.
Yeah, no, he's 100% a like Pirates of the Caribbean pirate. This is. I mean, he went full into is it Treasure Island, right? That kind of shaped the pirate mythos in live action.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely went for Treasure Island.
Yeah.
Pirate.
Yeah. Like Long John Silver from 1934.
Right. So, good pirate teaches them to fly the ship. Did we get a name for this pirate port? Because I can't recall them giving us a name, and I really want the name, so I need to rewatch the episode.
I don't think that they gave us a name. For now, I bet we just call it Tortuga. Space Tortuga, Space Tuga, Torspasa.
That's weird.
Maybe we'll just stick with Tortuga.
I'm betting they gave us a name and we missed it, but we will find out eventually. They'll tell us. But
yeah.
Again, interesting place. The fight scene with the droid was really, really good. I enjoyed that a lot. Where Smee shows up, says, don't mess with my captain. And, he's pretty brutal. I mean, he was doing a pretty good job of tossing people around. We know we're going to have to go back and get him. We do finally get a full introduction to the first time we see Jude Law's character. He's wearing the Cobra Commander mask. So we find him again in the brig. Right, we don't really know how long he's been in the brig.
Because clearly, like, he botched that whole thing. And they were...
I'm just calling them Jefferson Starship.
Might as well. There were food. Yes. Very Temple of Doom. And they cracked that thing over that bug. And he's like, oh no, I don't need any salt.
But I love the look of the pirate place. We get a teak. We get the alien, the one that the ferryman. That's a callback to the Ewok movies.
Okay.
The only thing I didn't love was when they first pulled up, I was like, all the ships are moored like ships in a port. So how do they get into the port? Well, a dinghy pulls up to take them into port, which might have been a little on the nose.
But if you think about it, like, yeah, it's a pirate port. They don't want all these ships in there,
right?
Laying waste to their port,
right? So yeah, no, I mean it's fun. That was one of the dinghy though was one of the only things I was like, I don't know if I like that design.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
Yeah, Jude's got a little bit of the Aragorn thing going on for sure.
I mean, Jude Law is such a talented actor.
He really is. He's a really great actor.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what he does in this series, and I can't wait to see what they're playing at, because the whole thing in the buildup was he's a Jedi, this just Jedi. Then as we got closer, it was like, well, he's a different kind of Jedi. We wanted to do something with a little bit different kind of Jedi. Now it's like,
he's a pirate Jedi.
Was he ever a Jedi? Or is he just a pirate that has some connection to the Force that he's learned to use, at least in small amounts?
I mean, the thing is, he's like the age to have been. I guess there's a chance that he could have initially had some training, like in the Jedi Temple, and then went on the run when the Empire came to power.
Possibly.
And honestly, that seemed like the most likely scenario to me, was that he's a Padawan or something who just sort of disappeared.
Or even a young Jedi.
He just disappeared into pirate life.
Yeah.
Whenever the Empire comes to power. Because,
Jude Cobra Law. So what did you think about the introduction to his character?
Oh my God. So, because like clearly to the, like little starry-eyed kids are like, it's a Jedi, and that's their take on this, is like, oh, he's the Jedi who's come to save us. And like, I mean, clearly, he's a pirate captain. He's got ulterior motives. Like, as soon as I heard the captain speak, I was like, that's Jude Law. Like, and I think, like, I was trying not to say it because I didn't out loud, because I thought that it might be a surprise for the kids, but then Andrew said it out loud. So
I don't think they heard me.
No, Iana did. She was like, that's the Jedi guy, right? I think we know later.
Well, the 15-year-old picked up on it. I doubt the other two did.
Fair.
So what else before we wrap up?
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, so let's just talk general feeling. So
yeah,
where I'm at on this show is that I thoroughly enjoyed it. I haven't had, like, I really love the first two seasons of The Mandalorian, and I even like most of the third season of The Mandalorian. Like, I put it below the first two seasons. I think if you had called it something different, you probably would have lowered expectations for it being, because it's really not in line with Mando season 1 and 2. It's its own thing. So maybe if you had called it, Return to Mandalore or something, or
a little more of a hit,
that people might have, because people had expectations of it mostly being Mando, and then we end up doing a lot more of Bo-Katan, and so it kind of changed shape. But overall, I still think it tells a good story.
Yeah.
It tells a story that I've wanted for a long time in that Return to Mandalore, and overall they did a good job with it. And at the end of the day, Din Djarin is the hero of the day at the end. And I've really enjoyed those, and there are really great moments in those. But I have been saying for a while that one of the things, it's like, even Andor, which I ended up really liking, it's Star Wars minus the fun.
Well, and this has a real sense of wonder.
Yeah. And that's been absent from so much of the Star Wars. Is Luke is so much wide-eyed wonder. Trek Anderson, welcome to the chat. so much wide-eyed wonder in the original.
Mm-hmm.
And then we really don't do that. We do it a little bit with Ray. And Force Awakens, I maintains, was a good start to a trilogy that just took a dive off the edge.
Yeah. Ooh. All right. We've got
so Travis
theories.
Travis says, here's my guess.
That won't happen.
That won't happen. They end up in the galaxy in Ahsoka, and they end up running into Shin Hati, and she reluctantly has to protect them, joining their crew. That's possible. We're falling in the right time period for that to happen. It's really going to depend on where they are.
Yeah.
Because the thing that I'm getting is that they're a old Republic world that's at least mid-core. I don't think they're out that far.
Yeah.
They're just off the map, but they don't fit the.
So is Camino.
They don't fit the model of an outer rim planet.
Right.
You know, they're
Unless
what we've seen so far is more at least mid rim, if not core planet.
Unless it's like some sort of colony of a core world that actually managed to bring their technology with them.
True.
Yeah, this is pretty much.
Oh, I think there's a twist coming for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm excited and having fun, keeping an open mind. That's exactly. I think that's pretty much kind of where I'm at too, Baldo, because it's like I want to have.
Travis said he thought Neil was a girl until about halfway through the first episode.
That's great.
Yeah, so not new alien and high pitched 10-year-old voice, so makes sense.
That's great.
But I'm really enjoying this show.
I want to see
obviously
Hondo.
We've still got Hondo really needs to show up in this, but obviously we've got 6 episodes left to go. It could go off the rails. It could keep getting better. We're going to see where it goes. We're going to see what the twist is, see if the twist works, see if this story at the end of the day, once we learn everything, fits in the existing lore.
Right.
So far, so good. Yeah. Now, I think that this is a really great show. I'm super excited that this is a show that will probably be a lot of kids' first window into the galaxy. I'm very optimistic about where it's going.
Yeah, me too.
Now, I think that this show can build a lot of goodwill. Star Wars, we've talked about a lot. It's not in a good place. Star Wars has struggled as of late. It's got, wherever you come down on things like The Acolyte, if you've watched my review, you know where I come down on it, but wherever you come down on it, it's like The Last Jedi. Whether you love that movie or hate that movie, I don't think you can deny the rift that it created. And Star Wars has burned up a lot of its good faith.
Yeah.
Now, this show can start rebuilding that good faith, but I don't think this is this isn't
the goodwill.
This isn't the
get out of jail free card they were hoping for.
Well, and I don't think a TV show can be that.
Yeah.
So I think that they need to build goodwill on TV. If they're going to make TV, you got to make good TV and make it worth putting the Star Wars name on it. And so, so far they've made some things that weren't worthy of the Star Wars name. And so while I think the shows need to rebuild that goodwill, I think it's going to take a home run in the theater to take Star Wars off life support. I'm not one of these people. Star Wars is dead. Star Wars is so big that I don't know what you'd have to do to actually kill it, because I think you hit a home run in the theater and it just blows up again.
Yeah.
Now, whether the new movie, the Mandalorian movie, we actually got word yesterday, it's wrapped. Release date of May 22nd, 2026. So
Sweet.
a year and a half.
Okay.
On my birthday.
Hooray.
So we're taking the May spot back. Super excited about that. Now, whether that movie is the one that's the home run that reignites the franchise and the fandom, I don't know. We'll see.
Hopefully.
I just don't think a TV series is going to be able to be that, at least right now.
Yeah.
But I think that this show could go a long ways towards making people feel better about the state of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing a lot of hope from people that haven't been hopeful in a while.
Yeah. Which is good.
So
I'm the eternal Star Wars optimist, and so far it's going well for this show.
So what about you? Overall thought? That's me. I'm super excited.
I mean, that's me. I'm the eternal optimist. And so far, my optimism has been rewarded, and I hope it will continue so.
All right. Well, so as mentioned previously, I've got to find out what the release time.
I find your lack of cheer disturbing. There we go.
What time the release is weekly. That's right. Road trip to the theater. I will definitely be sitting in a theater on my birthday to watch The Mandalorian movie.
Absolutely.
Travis Mitchell, thank you so much for dropping in the chat. Hope to see you back next time. So what we're going to do, and I mentioned this at the top of the stream, but I'm going to mention it again. Next week, we will be back. Once I figure out what time this thing's going to drop weekly, we will do a quick, like 15-minute pre-show to talk about our expectations. Expect guests in and out on that. If you'd like to get in on that, hit me up. And then we will come back after for a non-spoiler talk, probably 20 minutes or less. And then sometime over the next couple of days, we'll do our full spoiler review.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much to Ubaldo, Travis Mitchell, Trek Anderson. There was somebody else in here, was there not?
Oh yeah, 10,000 games.
It's 1,000th Ghost Toys.
Oh. Well, I knew there was something, some number of thousands.
Isaac was here at the top of the show. Yeah. So thank you guys for all dropping into the chat. We hope to see you back next time. And until next time, may the Force be with you.
This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/Red5.